Divisive Legend here. Today I'm going to talk about Antifa, their connection to Black Lives Matter, as well as the connection between Antifa and Black Lives Matter with communism. So we're going to start with the connection between Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Now, Black Lives Matter is a group that they're pretty much the root of where Antifa is coming. Like, Antifa is obviously beyond BLM. But whenever BLM has a rally, or anything of that sort, Antifa goes up to the rally. The reason Antifa goes to the rally wearing the little black masks and all that shit is because Antifa doesn't want the attention on them. It can be put as a movement of BLM. And it can be put as an act of BLM, because BLM is already doing the same things that Antifa do. So birds of a feather flock together. So even though they're not directly the same group, Antifa and Black Lives Matter are a strongly connected group. And that is why Black Lives Matter has communist propaganda at their rallies. Antifa is a primarily communist group. They call themselves the anti-fascist movement, and their movement aims to smash fascism in every form. Now, that sounds pretty violent to me. And that's supposed to be with a non-violent protest group like Black Lives Matter, which is non-violent, supposedly non-violent. Now, we go a little further right into this. We'll talk about the things from Antifa and Black Lives Matter when I was at Black Lives Matter, when I was a part of the movement. During the time I was at Black Lives Matter activist, Antifa were there as well. Now, when I was at the March for Trump, there was a person who published a news article online, with Alpha News Minnesota. She published a news article about my post about Black Lives Matter, about my initial one, about when I exposed the things that I saw when I was there. So, I sent this person a photo of some of the protesters and the activists that were there that were counter-protesting and trying to protest the movement itself of the Trump rally and trying to disrupt our March for Trump. Now, I was able to identify one of the people based on the hair because I was able to recognize his hair from when I was in Black Lives Matter. His name was Frankie Sager. Frankie Sager was one of the Antifa people who were at the Black Lives Matter protest during our March for Trump, when they tried to come in and antagonize and agitate and get violent with the Trump supporters. So, the person who used the pepper spray on the Trump supporters was also a part of Antifa, and that person was also at the Black Lives Matter rally at the governor's mansion with Frankie Sager. So there's a strong connection between Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Now, when you look further at this connection, Frankie Sager being part of BLM, and maybe not directly with them, but affiliated with them, that shows that Black Lives Matter obviously does have some ties to communism due to the fact that Antifa is a part of it. So let's go into this part now. Antifa, you can identify them at rallies usually, and you can identify them in the protest movements because they're the ones that always have the masks over their faces and cover their faces. Now, being that Antifa covers their faces the way they do, there are only two reasons to why a person would go to a protest or any kind of rally and cover their face. The first one is that they know they're about to do something illegal and they don't want to be able to be identified for what they're doing. The other option, and the other possibility of why, is this one actually applies more, I think, to Antifa than Black Lives Matter, but it also does apply to Black Lives Matter too, is they're too pussy to show their faces. Simply put, they're too pussy to show their faces. I'd say that it's more of that than the other, but I could say it's a combination of both. I'd say more leaning towards the pussy side of things. Now, when you go towards a little further, we're going to talk about... Oh, I'm sorry. Let's let the loud van pass. They obviously needs a new muffler. That thing is loud. But Damn, that thing's loud. Wow. But now we go to BLM. We'll go back to it. Look at the riots that happened in Ferguson, Baltimore, Milwaukee. A lot of those came in after people came in from different states. Now, there were obviously the riots, there was obviously the talk, there was obviously the anger and everything at first. Because, you know, Ferguson, there had been a little violence and everything before the big one. And in Baltimore, there was a lot of tension before the big one. So people were already being violent, threatening towards police. Now, it was when the outside people came into Baltimore that it really exploded and caused the entire city to be burned down. I suspect the outside people that came and created that was Antifa. Because Antifa is known for doing that. They're known for coming in and making movements become violent. Because they're trying to use violence to fight back against what they call fascism. Now let's talk about what they want. They want a communist government structure. In addition to wanting a communist government structure, they use violence to oppress, they use violence to get their way. They claim to be oppressed. And if you look at the biggest fascist movement in history, we'll look at the Nazi Party. The Nazi Party was built based on Hitler claiming that the Jewish people destroyed the German culture and the German economy. And it was built by the same claims that Antifa and Black Lives Matter are trying to use to justify their own behavior. So there's the biggest fascist movement in history. So yes, I will say that Black Lives Matter is essentially the black version of the Nazis. And Antifa is closely affiliated with them. They use violence to promote their speech. They use violence to get their way. They use fear. They use intimidation. They use rhetoric. And they say they're the ones fighting against fascism. They want to control the government. They want to control the religions. Oh, I would definitely say that Antifa is a communist movement. Now we're going to go a little further with something else. We're going to talk about the fact that Antifa, because I just read some shit online, there was some shit where they were saying that they should wear burqas, hijabs, and things like that when they go to counter-protest the Trump rallies, because the Trump supporters are too pussy to put their hands on them. But in the event that a Trump supporter does put their hands on them, all they have to do is claim that the Trump supporter tried to rip off their hijab or their face covering or whatever, and then they can claim that it was a hate crime and get you for a hate crime. So that in and of itself, I just wanted to expose. And I just wanted that to be known to all my fellow Trump supporters out there that want to take our country back from this fascist Democrat Party and to take our country back from these liberal social justice warriors. So with that, I thank everyone for viewing. Please like for the truth, comment your responses, and share so more people get exposure. Divisive Legend tuning out. Real news, real talk. Peace.